Before we start the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free, so you can get it anywhere, anytime, costs no money. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, whatever device you choose. As well as that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast too with no minimum listenership. That means a nobody podcast like mine can make money off of sponsorships. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you haven't tried Anchor or you want to start a podcast and haven't tried it yet, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 45, and honestly, before we begin, I just want to explain where I've been for the last 2 weeks. So the first week, I was sick. The whole household was sick. So, coming to the time where it came to record, my voice was still not 100%. It was scratchy constantly. Like, my throat was getting filled with phlegm and, other virus-like fluids. So, I constantly kept clearing my throat every, couple seconds. And I'm going to be honest, I would have been able to record, but I don't think you guys wanted to hear me sound like a fucking smoker and constantly going, like 2 seconds, like every 2 seconds. So I didn't think that you guys wanted that. So I decided I'm going to take a week off. That week turned into 2, though, when the London card happened. It wasn't really the best card. We'll get into that in a little bit later on when we cover the fights. But it was more so I felt burnt out. And I'm not burnt out of doing podcasts. Like, that's not my thing at all. I love talking for you guys. I love to just talk. Even if I don't like hearing myself talk, I just love to talk. It's the fact that I have to constantly talk about MMA each week. And that's not saying that I don't like MMA. I love MMA. It's my favorite sport. It's my passion. But my big thing has to be that finding content for it constantly and talking about it for an hour each week is just draining after a while. Makes me not want to watch the sport, makes me want to miss cards, and that's not me. So I'm still going to be doing MMA. So, for people who came here for MMA, don't you fret, do not worry. I will be doing MMA still, but I changed the format of the podcast. We're going to try it out for a little bit, see how it does. What we're going to do is in the first half of the podcast, I'm just going to bring up whatever random topic I want to talk about each week. Or, maybe if you guys have suggestions, DM me on Twitter if you have suggestions on what to talk about. I'll talk about that the beginning half of the podcast. And then the second half of the podcast after the Dubby advertisement will be, me talking about the fights this week, last week, whatever ones I missed. Any big regional ones that happen, I'll talk about. It'll just be a quick little second half of the podcast where I'm talking about that. But first half, I want to talk about just random topics, whether it be video games, pop culture, movies, music, news, anything. I just wanted to bring it up. It could be fucking men's mental health one week, could be abuse on men another week, could just be about abuse in general another week, could be some depressing shit for 3 weeks in a row, or it could be happy ass shit about the newest game releases or the newest movie releases. It just so happens, lucky for you guys, that I'm starting things off light, and we're going to be talking about video game TV shows. Not movies, because I could go on about video game movies for a while, but video game TV shows, and more recently, the video game TV shows that have been coming out, that have been announced. I want to talk about them. More specifically, the Fallout TV show, but we'll get to that in a bit. I wanted to talk about my opinion on video game TV shows because I'm one that's not one of those cynical assholes that kind of looks at, there's a new video game movie coming out or a new video game TV show coming out, yeah, no, it's gonna be fucking trash. They can't fucking adapt it. That's gonna be garbage. I'm not one of those guys that just immediately jumps to negative conclusions. I always like to have faith in a project whenever it's announced. But before I get into the Fallout TV show and why my expectations are a little iffy about it, the reason why I've kind of slowly stopped giving faith in projects is more recently the Halo series. So it's gonna kind of be very relevant to the Fallout series and what I talk about when it comes to terms of content and how they're gonna bring Fallout to the small screen. I am a huge Halo fan, right? So we're gonna talk about the Halo series for a sec. I'm a huge Halo fan. Probably one of the biggest Halo fans you'll meet. I have been a Halo fan since I was a wee little 4-year-old when the game came out. It literally brought me into the genre of FPSs. I wouldn't be such a huge FPS nerd today if it wasn't for that game. Halo quite literally revolutionized gaming for me. And honestly, it revolutionized gaming in whole. But it brought me in, made me a huge fan. So I've been a fan for many a years. And when Paramount announced last year that they were going to be making a Halo series, I was excited. Very, very excited. I was ecstatic, even. I was so fucking happy about it. That being said, come Super Bowl time, so February 2022, they show a trailer for it. And, for the most part, the trailer's looking pretty goddamn good. The battle scenes are looking good. You get to see a little glimpse of the HUD action. You get to see the AR, and there's Chief, big man fucking 117 in the goddamn trailer. Like, what more can you want? Well, there was a little fucking speck of detail that I really just didn't like. Very much annoyed me. And it very much... Actually, two, sorry. That very much annoyed me when I watched the trailer and kind of gave me a little bit of an iffy feeling. And that was the fact that there was a fucking 2001 Chevy Tahoe just chilling, still active in the desert in the middle of a war zone in 2552, mind you. But not only that, but they were still using Kalashnikovs. Like, at this point, you're well past advanced, you're well beyond the Kalashnikov in advancements. Why are we still using the Kalashnikovs? If the planet was once a rich planet, so they'd have the right weaponry to defend themselves. So it just bothered me. And they carried that into the show. That wasn't just like a concept for the trailer. It was an actual thing in the show. They were using Kalashnikovs. There was a fucking Tahoe hidden in one of the battle scenes in the first episode. It was just upsetting. But hey, I still had hope. So come March, when the show finally airs, and I start watching it week by week, man. Let's just say this. When I saw that this showrunner straight up said that they weren't following any of the Halo lore other than the material that's provided, they weren't going to go with the games, the novels, the extended media that's already been released, which is the dumbest thing I ever heard. I should have just stopped giving hope then, but I didn't. And it really showed. Because what we got in the Halo series was a complete hunk of fucking garbage, like actual trash, that had nothing to do with Halo other than the fact that they just kept talking about the ring and the fact that the ring can cause mass devastation in the galaxy. Oh, and Chief was there. Like, that's about it. Oh, and Cortana, and then there were some elites. Like, they took all the fucking assets from Halo, but not much of the story at all. Instead, they gave Cortana a naggy mom type of personality, which I started to kind of like near the end of it. They gave Chief a backstabbing Covenant human girlfriend, which was so fucking weird. It was just, my mean green virgin isn't a virgin anymore. And it pissed off a lot of people. But, the whole series pissed me off as a whole. It got me so upset with the series that I haven't even finished the last episode yet. I refuse to continue watching because it's such a fucking trash heap. So that brings me to the Fallout series. So, I can't remember when. I want to say around July. Earlier than July. I want to say April, May, they announced that there's going to be a potential Fallout series. It wasn't confirmed, but the people were like, oh yeah, there's leaks. There's probably going to be a Fallout series done by Amazon Prime Video, what they do. And honestly, I have a lot of hope because Amazon puts their money into quite a few good projects. The Boys being one of them, Invincible being another. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, but I'm still kind of iffy about it because of what just happened with Halo. Well, let's just talk about some of the leaks that just happened recently. I want to say as like recently as fucking like a couple weeks ago. So what came out was that they began shooting, and they're shooting in what looks like New York and some other places, and it's looking really good. Now, I don't know how well the story's going to be because that's a whole different can of worms, and that kind of makes or breaks a TV show. But the biggest thing that I actually managed to notice, the thing that really got my eye, the thing that really got my attention was the fact that they had the super duper mart. There was people wearing Pit Boys and Vault uniforms. There was a set piece that looked exactly like the inside of a Fallout vault, and the best part about it, there's a leaked picture of an actual suit of power armor, I want to say T45 power armor, and it looks in fucking incredible. It looks incredible. So, you know, here's the thing. Halo has brought me down to a completely new low when it comes to faith. So, I want to have faith in this series, especially after the leaks that we saw. You know, the fact that there's a New Yorkish feel to it, like a post-apocalyptic New York. The vault set pieces look like vault set pieces. You know, that they're including the power armor. Probably at some point they're going to have scenes with the actual big war, the Great War that caused the whole nuclear apocalypse. You know, people are wearing vault uniforms and Pip Boys. And from what people have been saying and what the leaks have been saying, the story runners have been saying that it's going to follow, I think, like 4 vault dwellers. And essentially, it's going to follow those vault dwellers and them coming to terms with the new nuclear apocalyptic world. I think that's fucking awesome. I think if done right, that will be that'll be an incredible series, right? So with those leaks, I think the little bit of hope that Halo has crushed, those leaks for the Fallout show have kind of glued back together. And even though they're just holding on, barely, they're there. And I'm happy to see those leaks because honestly, man, I was worried. Because let's talk about the other video game show that they're announcing and that they've been in development for a while. This one's an HBO Max one. They're doing The Last of Us. But if I remember correctly, the guy who's playing Joel looks absolutely nothing like Joel. I don't even think they're incorporating Joel right away, too. And the girl who looks like Ellie looks too old to be Ellie because the start of the series is supposed to take place during the events of the first game. So, again, I don't know how to feel about that. The casting was kind of questionable. There was quite better, like way better fucking casting that I saw on the internet. So many people had posted. They were kind of upset about the casting. The story, for the most part, seems to be more so just kind of more or less the events of The Last of Us 1. But here's the thing. I think, and this is the other thing that actually gets me happy about the Fallout series, I think Neil Druckmann is involved in the Last of Us series. So that kind of gives it a bit of, a bit of credit. Might be good now that one of the story runners of the actual games is involved. And that's why I also have immense hope for the Fallout series, because the other leak that we got for the Fallout series is that longtime game runner and game director for both the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series, Todd Howard, is actually heavily involved in the writing process, in how they shoot things, and how the props are made, and how they look. So I'm gonna be honest here, with that little tidbit of information, it brings me a whole new fucking string of hope for the Fallout series. So if there's any video game show that's gonna be good, it might very well be the Fallout series. I'm excited. I'm actually very excited for this series. And, I mean, you can come back to this podcast and, fucking clip this as, like, famous last words because, I mean, guarantee you, with my luck, it's going to be completely trash again because I said the same thing, not on podcast, but when I was talking to friends and other people about the Halo series, I said the same thing. I was like, it's going to be fucking good. I have faith in it. It's going to be incredible. And I wanted to shoot myself after the first episode. So, I mean, what's that saying? Anyway, that was it for that topic. I thought you guys that aren't too much into MMA would just love hearing me talk about something else that I have a passion for, mostly video games, especially the Fallout series and the Halo series, because let's be real. Halo is literally the reason why I'm a gamer. Fallout is the reason why I'm a heavy RPG gamer now. I never used to be. I never even gave them the time of day. I would try, but I was like, nah, fuck this. I'm an FPS guy. But then I played Fallout, and Fallout showed me, because I never played Oblivion or any of those games before until after I played Fallout. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll give Bethesda games a try. But I played Fallout 3, and it showed me that you can do an FPS and an RPG all in one, and it works. And it was an incredible game. It was so fun. But then Fallout New Vegas came out and completely blew the roof off. And it just completely solidified me as a fan of the Fallout series. So, you know, again, you're going to probably hear me complain about it when the show comes out and it's not that good. But as a fan of the Fallout franchise, you know, someone who's played every single game from 1 to 76 and given them all a fair shake, I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope for the series. So, anyway, that's it for this half. In the next half, after the little message from our sponsor, Dubby, we will be talking about the last 2 UFC events that happened and then the pay-per-view that just happened. So, without further ado, here's a message from our friendly neighbors at Dubby. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about my new sponsor, Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a powdered energy drink that is actually a clean energy drink that's made to give you a focus with no crash or jitters or any angst that the other energy drinks on the market give you. They're also made with no maltodextrin fillers. They don't use any artificial dyes or any coloring, anything like that. And on top of that, Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, nootropics, and caffeine that keeps you going. And on top of that, it's gluten-free. So if you're worried about your gluten intake, it's okay. These guys got you covered. And if you're worried about it coming out of a facility that's not FDA approved or FDA inspected, these guys, they're doing it legit. Their product's made in an FDA inspected facility and their product is FDA approved. So if you want to try any of these awesome flavors, because let's be honest, I'm about to tell you this, their flavors are all unique. You're not going to find a flavor anywhere else, only here at Dubby. So if you want to try 3 of their awesome new flavors in a starter pack with your own mixer cup, go on their website, pick the starter pack. It's $14.99. If you want to get 10% off of it, use Dillo's Dojo at checkout. That's DILLOS at checkout for 10% off. Once again, I want to thank Dubby for sponsoring the podcast. Anyway, enjoy your Dubby drink if you manage to use my code. Let's get back to the fights, folks. Alright, so getting into these fights, I missed a total of 3 cards for you guys now. Obviously, 3 including this week's pay-per-view. But it seems that the 2 main events that I missed last week and the week before, it seems that it's just nothing but bad luck for main events. I'll reiterate. Let me elaborate, actually. Let me get in further to it. So, what happened is, in the Ortega versus Rodriguez card, let's just say this, man. The card was incredible. Like, it was fucking incredible. Absolutely outstanding, man. But, here's the thing. The main event had some strike of bad luck. Let's just go through the whole main card here. So starting off the main card, we had Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate, and obviously Lauren Murphy playing a very smart game plan in a very razor-close fight with Miesha Tate to edge out the decision, actually completely outplaying the veteran in Miesha Tate to earn herself a decision victory. And it was actually a really good fight, too. It wasn't a boring, like, grind out to a decision. It was a back-and-forth fight between both girls. Scrambles on the ground, a lot of striking on the feet. Just a very fast-paced, very smart and technical fight. It was really fun to watch. But it was a great fight by Lauren Murphy. Absolutely incredible win against an absolutely game opponent in Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate's no slouch, even though she had, like, a layoff. She's no slouch, man. So, great fight. The next fight was even better, man. We had Shane Burgos versus Charles Jourdain, And Charles Jourdain is a very flashy striker, very good grappler. Not with wrestling, more so BJJ, but his striking is otherworldly when it comes to just flashy shit. He's fun. He's a fun guy to watch. I love Charles Jourdain. He's also Canadian, so that makes him even better. But he's going up against Shane Burgos, who's an absolutely powerful and brutal boxer. But Shane showing the complete roundedness of his game. He actually ended up, wrestling most of the fight. And honestly, incredible showing by Shane. Very smart game plan. Incredible showing by Shane Burgos. Shane Burgos, like I said, just incredible game plan. Charles Jourdain, though, was not out of the fight one bit. It was just Shane Burgos was the veteran with the very, very smart game plan to wrestle and just kind of hold him there. And honestly, on the feet when they were standing, Shane Burgos did an incredible job there too, countering every strike. Charles Jourdain hitting him with some nice strikes and just Burgos eating every bit of it like it's fucking cookies. It's honestly just... It was a great showing by Shane Burgos, He was the better man that night, and nothing to take away from Charles Jourdain because every second of that fight, he was still game. He was still in it. He was still trying to make things work. He didn't give up. Shane Burgos just did a veteran move, played the perfect game plan for him. That brings me to the next fight, though, when it comes to eating shots like cookies. Holy shit. Matt Schnell versus Sue Maderji. Holy fuck, man. Matt Schnell with one of the greatest comebacks, probably the comeback of 2022, hands down. So, let's paint the scene. It's a flyweight bout. Sue Maderji, young guy, absolutely incredible phenom. He's smashing Matt Schnell with some nice shots on the feet and on the ground. Matt Schnell just eating them like they're nothing. Matt Schnell swinging back. He's in this fight every second of the way. He's stomping forward. He's swinging back with his own shots. He's hitting Sue Maderji with great shots of his own. It's a back and forth fight until the first round. Sue Maderji knocks Matt Schnell down, almost has him. It looks like it's game over in the next round from Matt Schnell, but nah, man, Matt Schnell's still in it, eating every shot. Sue Maderji hitting him with some, I'm talking mean shots, like you could hear it, you could audibly hear these shots landing, like they were brutal, and he hit them with some nice shots. Matt Schnell, though, eating them like cookies, like literally fucking like dessert, just nom nom nom, like thanks for the punch, dude. Sue Maderji gets clipped with Matt Schnell's punches. He gets hit with a nice one, drops him, and all of a sudden, Matt Schnell on the ground. It's a scramble. Sue Maderji might have him in trouble. Matt Schnell, out of nowhere, fucking picks up the submission on Sue Maderji after almost looking like he was out of the fight in so many fucking moments. Even though he was hitting Sue Maderji with some nice shots, Sue Maderji just kept dropping him, almost had him finished on the ground a couple times. It was just, oh my God, greatest comeback that I've seen in the last little bit, hands down. So that really set the tone for the whole card. Honestly, if the first two fights didn't set a tone that was incredible, that one did. That was okay, there's no way that this card could disappoint anymore. There is no way that this card could disappoint in any way. The next couple fights have to be incredible. And boy, were they. The next fight was a welterweight bout between Li Jingliang and Muslim Salikov, man. And back and forth it went, but Li Jingliang hitting him with some nice shots, putting Muslim Salikov out in the second round, man. It was just a back and forth fight between both guys. Incredible fight. Really just keeping the momentum of the card going, honestly. And if that wasn't enough, we had the co-main event between Michelle Waterson and Amanda Lemos. Holy fuck, man. Amanda Lemos surviving some attempts, man. Michelle Waterson almost getting her in a couple attempts. But Lemos, just an absolute game fighter. An incredible fighter, may I add you. She might be the next one to challenge for the title. In my opinion, I think so. The way she handled Michelle Waterson and handled the adversity that Michelle Waterson handed her, it just shows she has the mentality to step in there with the champ, and it's incredible. Michelle Waterson getting her in some nice attempts, some nice situations, but Amanda Lemos picking up a submission early in the second round to just get Michelle Waterson out of there. It was amazing. It was quick. So like I said, it was just keeping the momentum of the card going, right? You'd think there's nothing that can happen, nothing that can ruin this. Nah. Nothing's bad. Nothing bad's happening. Yeah, no. The MMA gods just kind of laughed at us when we said that. Yeah, no, like I said, the MMA gods just kind of laughed at us on that one. Honestly, it was pretty funny. Like, I was pissed off when it happened too. But, like, the fact that the MMA gods just kind of did what they did to us was kind of funny. I felt bad for Brian Ortega, but, what can you do? We had in the main event Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. My God, what an incredible main event it was going to be. And it was shaping up to be an incredible main event so far in the first round. And it was nearing the end of the first round. All of a sudden, I think it was like in a grappling scramble. All of a sudden, something happens, the action stops, and Brian Ortega's holding his shoulder. Turns out, during the exchange, Brian Ortega's shoulder dislocated. So that was the verbal agreement that they had to end the fight, unfortunately. And my God, man, like, it was just so disappointing. After even the prelims, I'm not going to talk much about the prelims, but the prelims had some incredible fights as well. Some absolutely banger finishes, man. And, with that type of momentum going on the card and on the main card with the way it went, the way the fucking main event ends is so disappointing. It was so upsetting. So, safe to say, it left a lot of fans kind of upset. And, like I said, it's safe to say it wasn't a nice way to end the fight night on ABC. But whatever, like, it happens. It's the part of the sport. Injuries happen all the time in this sport. You know what I mean? Just, I wish for a speedy recovery for Brian Ortega, man. It's such an unfortunate way for a fight to end, especially when he was looking pretty damn good. Like, he was checking all of Yair's kicks. He was actually hitting Yair with some nice fucking punches and some shots of his own. Actually had him on the ground and was going to be potential trouble for it. But like I said, just unfortunate, man. Like I said, these things happen in MMA, but unfortunate, dude. Unfortunate. That brings us to the next card, though. We had the card in London. So I think, what was it, like April, the last time the London card happened? They did another London card back in April. It was fantastic. It was incredible. It was explosive in every way, finishes upon finishes. It was a great way to have a card in London. Yeah, no, like I said, back-to-back main events ending in stupendous fashion. That's sarcasm, by the way. No, both main events, like I said, this main event too ended in a anticlimactic way and an unfortunate way. We'll get into that whole main card because there was some pretty decent fights, some spectacular chaos to talk about, but like I said, unfortunate way to end the night. So let's just get into that card real quick. So the card started off with Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir, which on paper looked like an incredible fight, but the fight ended up being mostly Volkan Oezdemir outstriking Paul Craig on the feet, and Paul Craig doing that, how do I put this? You know that scene in The Simpsons with Artie Ziff where he just learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and he's about to fight Homer? So he says, I'm going to, like, I'll tangle with you, and then he, like, lays down and he says, get into my guard, or something like that, and he just lays there and expects Homer to get into his guard. Yeah, literally, that's what Paul Craig did for 3 rounds. And while Paul Craig is an incredible fighter, an absolutely exceptional grappler on the ground, it was really disappointing because I wanted fireworks, and I'm sure a lot of fans in attendance wanted fireworks. It was a sold-out house in the O2 Arena, so I'm sure a lot of people in attendance were like, yeah, we want fireworks. We don't want Paul Craig laying on his back, just, catching a breath. Not what we wanted. So, as expected, because Paul Craig didn't do much, Volkan Oezdemir picked up the unanimous decision in a very uneventful fight. And honestly, you could do better, Paul. Like, come on, man. Like, I get that jiu-jitsu's your bread and butter and that's your game and you're good off your back, but come on, dude. Like, you're also a prize fighter. You need to also get the action going. You gave Volkan that win. Next fight, though, was Molly McCann versus Hannah Goldie, which wasn't a bad fight. A little bit of a mismatch, I believe, on paper. Hannah Goldie doing pretty decent in the first round, but Molly McCann, man, like, back to back, another spinning elbow KO that just flatlined Hannah Goldie, and that was like midway through the first round, almost 4 minutes in. A beautiful spinning elbow knocks out Hannah Goldie. Yet again, Molly McCann jumping the fence, running around the octagon. It's funny. She jumps the fence, and there's clearly like security or somebody trying to stop her, and she just breaks free and starts running around this outside of the octagon. It was so funny, but great finish by Molly McCann. It was just an incredible spinning elbow. it was like, okay, the card's picking up. Let's go. The next fight was Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson, making his return to light heavyweight after a devastating a devastating run at heavyweight where I think he got knocked out both times. It wasn't really the best of Gus, and this, my friends, really upset me. So they're just getting going. It's the feeling out process. Nikita Krylov is throwing a couple good strikes. So is Gus, but Nikita Krylov hits him with a nice pair of shots that just drops Gus. Like, you can tell Gus is out. Gus is done. It was so upsetting because Gus also, as they're getting going, like, yeah, Gus threw a couple of good shots, but he was looking a little slower than he should, especially at his age. He's 35, man, and I know a lot of millennials, or not millennials, but like Gen Z and younger would be like, oh, 35's like grandpa age. No, 35's actually not that old. 35, in fact, is like a couple years into your prime. And these should be the best years of his life, but the last couple of years have been very upsetting for Gus. Gus ends up getting knocked out, and it's just a sad display overall. Very upsetting, very heartbreaking. Yeah, just like I said, very upsetting. It broke my heart, and I'm pretty sure it broke a lot of people's hearts. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that they missed the old Gus. That I honestly think personally Gus should hang them up. It's very clear that his chin is suspect now. He's taken a lot of damage in his career. He's gone to war with two of the best light heavyweights on the fucking planet, hands down. He went to war with John Jones, arguably beat his ass the first time in a very razor close fight. Same with DC. Arguably beat DC in an incredibly close fight where both guys were literally pushed to the brink, landing shots on shots and damage. Like, Gus has been in some wars. So I think he should just hang them up. He's living his best life with his fucking wife and shit, man. I think he's made enough. I think he should do something else on the side. He's got a big enough name in his country where he could actually like do something with it. It's upsetting to see him get knocked out like that, man. Like, he was such an incredible fighter like a couple years ago, and now it's just like seeing the shell of himself. It's so sad. Anyway, enough of that depressing note. The next fight was Paddy Pimblett versus Jordan Leavitt, and this was my favorite fight because I hate Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to go off on a tangent for a bit. Paddy Pimblett is a fucking racist. The dude's just an absolute fucking insecure prick. Like, he gets so upset when certain people from his country don't back him because he's such a fucking mongoloid, and it's so funny to see. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be a big household name, and you claim to not give a fuck, but you're giving these people that troll you the time of day, and you're like spurging out on social media. It's not a good look. So imagine my upset when he beat Jordan Leavitt and submitted him in an incredible fight where Jordan Leavitt literally took him down at will and out-grappled him, but then on the feet again in the second round, Paddy hit him with some nice body shots with some knees, like some nice body knees that dropped Jordan Leavitt genuinely. And Paddy picked up his back, synced in the choke, because I'm going to be real, even though Jordan Leavitt out-grappled him in the first round, Paddy's no slouch on the fucking ground, man. That's his bread and butter. A lot of people forget. Like, he's not a striker. He is, without a doubt, a grappler, and a damn good one at that. I hate the fucking guy. He's an absolute piece of shit of a person, but as an athlete, as a martial artist, he's pretty goddamn good at grappling. Like, he's a fucking incredible grappler. So he picked up this choke and did the most pathetic teabag in the world. Like, this man was so upset and so insecure that Jordan Leavitt said he was going to twerk in the octagon if he beat Paddy, that Paddy started fucking saying some like outrageous shit about how he's going to fucking teabag his lifeless body and put his balls in his mouth and he's going to like it because he's a fanny and stuff like that. And then when he did teabag him, it was the most pathetic teabag ever. Literally twerked himself. Like, everybody was like, what was that? That was basically a twerk. It was basically a twerk. He stuck his ass out in Jordan's face, like, I don't know, crouched a bit, stuck his ass out instead of like dropping his balls on Jordan's head, and then just stood back up and then celebrated. Like, that was the most pathetic teabag I've ever seen in my life. But good submission from Paddy, and good, like, lead up shots. Like I said, great body shots to drop Jordan Leavitt. It was just a great sequence altogether. Can't hate him as an athlete. I can hate him as a person though. So that was that for that. We still had a co-main event and a main event though out of an incredible card like that. We had Jack Hermanson versus Chris Curtis, and not all fights can be good on the card. Jack Hermanson doing what Jack Hermanson does because he's primarily a grappler, laying on Chris Curtis, out grappling Chris Curtis, just being slow and boring in general. And I can be mad about his style of fighting, but I can't, I can't hate on it and discredit it because it still got him the win at the end of the day. And he's one of the top 5 middleweights for a reason because he uses that like that fight style. So, hey, whatever, it happens. So after that disappointing fight, we were expecting fireworks with Curtis Blades and Tom Aspinall because Curtis Blades is an incredible wrestler, but Tom Aspinall as a defensive wrestler is pretty fucking god darn good, man. But Tom Aspinall on the feet is a whole different story. He's a great fucking striker. However, you guys know how this is gonna end. I've said it at the beginning of the podcast at the beginning of this segment. Both main events ended in an anticlimactic and unfortunate way, right? Say it with me. Both main events ended in an unfortunate and anticlimactic way. So, what happened was, we don't know kind of what happened. It was more like they were kind of just prancing around, feeling each other out. And I think it was how Tom Aspinall stepped back on his knee and he twisted his knee. And I'm thinking when he stepped back, something happened with the way his knee, contorted as he stepped back. It tore something in his knee, and he ended up twisting his knee and tearing something. So it was an immediate, he dropped to the ground, held his knee. It was over. 15 seconds, literally. It wasn't even a minute in or 2 minutes in or the Brian Ortega one where they had a decent round until that happened. It was literally 15 seconds into the fight. So maybe they're going to run it back. Curtis Blades said he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to risk his ranking, essentially. He doesn't want to fucking give him the time of day, which, whatever. I mean, you can take that win, but people are going to laugh at you from now on. You're going to say, yeah, I beat Tom Aspinall, and no, they're going to just say, no, Tom's knee beat Tom Aspinall. You just sat there and watched it happen, basically. So, whatever. Like I said, power to fucking Curtis Blades. I'm not going to judge. But hey, that's it for that one. We still have one more card to talk about. And this time, we're going to do the full meat and potatoes because it happened recently. Happened last night. We're going to talk about UFC 277. We have a lot to talk about, fellers. So, let's get right into it. Starting off, we have a welterweight fight between Orion Kosk and Mike Mateta, which a little bit of a mismatch, but Orion Kosk just doing an incredible job surviving and weathering shots on shots to edge out a decision. It was first round, he was out grappling Mike, but the second round, he got hit with some nice shots, almost finished. It looked like he was going to be done. It looked like the ref was going to step in, but he played it smart, took some shots, unfortunately, but clinched, got him close, recovered, and then near the end of the round, just tried to stand and bang with Mike. But as the second or the third round started, he played it smart. He got close instead of letting Mike strike at a distance and hurt him, and then went for a trip, a nice throw that landed perfectly, and most likely secured him the round because the rest of the round was basically just grappling Orion. It was completely Orion's fight, just completely grappling from Orion for the third round. And he ended up edging out a 29-28 decision, obviously. Like I said, the first round was clearly Orion with his grappling, not letting Mike kind of get his striking going. But then the second round, Mike got his striking going, hurt Orion, looked like he was going to get Orion out of there, but Orion played it smart, clinched close, recovered. The third round, Orion got close, landed a takedown, secured it, and then capitalized on it and kept it going. So, it was a somewhat boring fight near the end, but still a pretty action-packed fight where, both guys were kind of on the brink. It was pretty fun. That brings us to the next fight, though, where we had a fight between Numega Moreno and Ihor Potiera, I believe. And it was ultimately, it was a great fight by both guys, man. I'm going to say this. Nikolai and Eeyore just, they were back and forth, man, hurting each other with strikes, just landing some nice knees, some nice kicks. But Ranu, or whatever his name is, Nikolai, we're going to call him Nikolai from now on. Nikolai landing a nice fucking series of strikes that just, oh my God, like it started with knees, 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 punches, punches. He was landing some nice punches, and then they got against the cage and he started clinching again. So he landed two more knees for good measure to just hurt him bad, and then landed some more follow-up shots. The ref stepped in to save his ass. It was just a beautiful fucking display, a beautiful, and I mean it, a beautiful sequence to end up with the finish. Great finish by Nikolai to go 13-1. And the next fight was a women's bantamweight fight between Jocelyn Edwards and Ji-Yeon Kim, where it was a pretty close fight, but it was mainly a grappling affair with a little bit of striking, where Jocelyn Edwards edged out a 29-28 decision in a forgettable, forgettable fight. But the headliner for the Fight Pass prelims was Michael Morales versus Adam Fugit. And holy fuck, Michael Morales putting Adam Fugit's lights out in the third round after a pretty back and forth fight where it was mostly Michael Morales landing some nice shots, but Adam Fugit, landing some of his own. It wasn't like he was out of there. He showed that he had a chin. I was sitting there watching last night and I was like, either Morales has pillow fists or Fugit has a chin of granite. And then all of a sudden, Michael Morales hurts him with a couple shots and then drops him. And that's the finish. It's over. I was like, yeah, no, it's Fugit. He just has a fucking chin of granite. And it just gave out on him, poor guy. But, it was such a show of heart, man. He was landing shots of his own and just eating shots. Eating manly shots. Brutal shots. So it was a great showing by both guys, but ultimately Michael Morales picking up the TKO in the third round to move on to 14-0. Man's got no blemishes yet. And honestly, with that showing, yeah, he's got some little mistakes he needs to fix here and there. He got tripped, I think, once or twice, but honestly, his ability to get back up, incredible. His danger on the ground, incredible. He's going to be a great prospect at welterweight, honestly. I'm excited to see where his career ends up, to be honest. That brings us to I believe it was the ABC prelims. And to start off, we had Drakkar Klose and Rafa Garcia in a all-time classic where both guys just back and forth, man. I love lightweight. It is such a stacked division, and these are two of some of the best lightweights. They're not even ranked either. They went back and forth and literally a mixing of martial arts. Back and forth strikes. Back and forth grappling. It was literally just brutal fucking shots. Incredible scrambles. Ultimately, though, Drakkar Klose picking up the 29-28 decision over Rafa Garcia in a razor-close fight, in a back-and-forth fight, and a fun fight to watch. And then, if that wasn't enough for fun fights that went to a decision, we had a heavyweight fight. Yeah, I said it. I fucking said it. This fight was fun. This was a heavyweight fight. We had Dontel Mays versus Hamdi Abdel Wahab. So Hamdi is an Egyptian Olympian, and Dontel Mays is, Dontel Mays. And my God, man, Hamdi eating those shots like they were dinner, like it was nothing. But Dontel Mays, man, it looked like he had Hamdi hurt a couple times. So it was I can't say that he was eating them like it was nothing, because there was a couple times where he was affected by it. But Hamdi, man, landing shots of his own, looking like he almost had Dontel Mays out of there a couple times. There was a couple times where it looked like he was about to knock out Dontel Mays as much as Mays looked like he was about to knock out him. So it was pretty damn close going into round 3, but ultimately, after landing some beautiful shots on Dontel Mays to hurt him, Abdel Wahab, Hamdi, he started wrestling and edged out the decision. But my God, it was a back and forth fight of both guys just trying to get their grappling going, but just constantly striking and hitting each other with heavy shots. I was sitting there watching with my wife, and I'm like, man, I don't think this is going to go to a decision, and they're going to be tired by the end of it. And I was right. They were tired by the end of it, but it wasn't like that sloppy tired that most heavyweights are, where they just lean against each other. They were both still winging punches, wanting to put each other out cold. It was awesome. And then we finally got our knockout the next fight, where we had Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves, man. Another one of some of the best lightweights. Drew Dober is just up there. He may have a suspect record with a 25-11 record, but the man is an incredible mixed martial artist. Has power in his hands and has a chin that just won't quit on him. Like, I mean, he has just a chiseled chin as is. He's a handsome feller, but that chin isn't just chiseled. It's not just there for show. It is quite literally chiseled. That thing is fucking granite. Rafael Alves was hitting with some nasty shots that looked like they were going to put him out. Rafael Alves was arguably winning the fight up to this point in round 3, where early in the 3rd round, he's got Alves backed up against the cage. He's swinging. He hits him with a nice, like, body left. I don't even think it was a hook. It wasn't quite a hook. It was a little bit of a hook. So it was like a little bit of a left body hook to the rib. And Rafael Alves, like, delayed reaction, just drops all of a sudden and eats a couple more shots. And he's clearly not in any condition to continue. The ref steps in, and it was a complete, like, it was considered a KO via body punch. It was a beautiful, just beautiful body punch when you look at it on replay. Like, just pinpoint. And it hurt him. It hurt him. Like, you could see he kind of reacted to it backing up against the cage when it landed, but all of a sudden he just, as it started to register, just dropped like a sack of potatoes from a building. Like, just so quick, like it was nothing. It was like a limp body dropping. He got fucking starched with that body shot. And if that wasn't enough, we had an absolutely exciting fight between Alex Morono and Matthew Semmelsberger, man. Both guys who love to strike, who love to just stand and bang and go to war. And that's exactly what they did, man. Matthew Semmelsberger doing an incredible job in the 1st round, but ultimately Alex Morono picking up in the 2nd and 3rd, just completely just smashing Matthew Semmelsberger. And all 3 rounds he ends up just outstriking Matthew Semmelsberger. But oh my god, Semmelsberger's eye was looking so fucking bad both times, between both rounds, between rounds 2 and 3. Like, going into round 2 and 3, both times they had to call the doctor in. The doctor looked, let's move on. 3rd round, the doctor comes in, looks, all right, let's move on. And then I think it's Dan Mergliotta was reffing. He looks at him one more time and calls in another doctor, and the doctor looks at him, says, oh yeah, let's move on, let's fight. It was, holy fuck, Matthew Semmelsberger took some punishment and just kept going. It was incredible. And that really set the tone for the card, because honestly, the card wasn't half fucking bad, man. Like, the next fucking fights were obviously Magomed Ankalaev with Anthony Smith. And let's be honest here, a lot of people wanted to have hope for Anthony Smith, but this was expecting. Honestly, I expected Magomed Ankalaev to, like, beat him to a decision. Not this. He ended up TKOing Anthony Smith late in the 2nd round with, like, leg kicks and a series of strikes. It was obvious that, you know, Anthony Smith's legs were kind of suspect after the 1st round, because he'd been eating those leg kicks all 1st round. And Magomed Ankalaev he's got heavy kicks, like, just very damaging kicks, especially at light heavyweight. So Magomed Ankalaev picking up a beautiful TKO of Anthony Smith, solidifying himself as the #1 contender at light heavyweight. So I think he should win the winner of whoever Yuri faces next. And then next up was a flyweight bout. In my opinion, it's the #1 contender flyweight bout. Alejandro Pantoja versus Alex Perez. And it was lightning quick. Alejandro Pantoja coming in with swinging punches. Both guys, actually. Like, it was literally like that, like a snap of the finger. As soon as the bell rang, they came in, started winging punches at each other, and I think it was Alex Perez running, and Pantoja trying to get a takedown where he trips Perez, like, far out. It wasn't a viable takedown at all, but the absolute quickness with how Pantoja just recovered, got to his feet as Perez was trying to get to his feet, and took the back was incredible. It was like lightning quick. So once he got the back for a good, like, I want to say almost minute, Pantoja just fighting the arms and getting that choke, just squeezing and eventually forcing Alex Perez to fucking tap. It was quick, man. It was quick. They both come out winging punches. Perez tries to run to back up. Pantoja trips him, takes his back as he's trying to recover, and then just does not give up like the human backpack and quickly sinks in the choke. It was incredible. And if that wasn't enough, the heavyweight fight between Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich. Before I get into this, I wanted to talk about it. Derek Lewis, man, he was kind of showing that, like, he's not respecting Sergey Pavlovich at all, dude. He's not respecting his skill level. During one of the interviews, he straight up said he doesn't even know who Sergey Pavlovich is. He didn't look into him at all, which kind of didn't sit well with me, and it kind of bit him in the ass last night because Sergey Pavlovich hit him with some heavy shots that fucking made him face plant, and 55 seconds into the first round, the ref was stepping in to save Derek Lewis's ass. Granted, Derek Lewis got up and recovered quickly as the ref stepped in, but still, like, face planting at heavyweight from punches does not look good, especially with the absolute weight and power these guys are swinging at. So, like, I don't know what Derek Lewis's plan was, but face planting like that, he was out. It was a good stoppage. Maybe an early stoppage, but he would have ate more shots on the ground like that if the ref didn't step in and allow him to stand up. Like, he would have ate way more shots. So, you know, it's whatever. Anyway, that brings us to the co-main event. This was an incredible fight, man. KKF, dude, just absolutely standing and banging with Brandon Moreno. Both guys going back and forth. Both guys just taking heavy damage. By the end of the fight, Brandon Moreno's face, his one cheek is puffed up with a huge fucking gash in it, man. It was brutal. KKF, though, succumbing to Brandon Moreno's strikes near the end of the third round via TKO. It was a brutal finish. Beautiful fight by both men. Like, KKF cannot leave that stadium with his head hung low. He did an incredible job in that fight. He made Brandon Moreno eat some heavy damage, and he made Brandon Moreno face some adversity. And if that didn't set the tone for the card, the main event of the evening, one of the most highly anticipated rematches in women's MMA history, Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. This happened December 11th, 2021. It's the main event. Juliana Pena just jabbing, and I mean it when I say jabbing Amanda Nunes' face off. And those jabs are paying dividends for her. Absolutely gassing Amanda Nunes out. Eventually, she jabs her last jab, and Amanda Nunes shoots for a takedown out of desperation. Juliana Pena defends it, switches around, takes the back, and chokes out Amanda Nunes to become the women's bantamweight champion and to pick up one of the biggest upsets in women's MMA history, behind Nunes knocking out Ronda Rousey. And obviously number one being Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey being, you know, the top two upsets. That's pretty funny. Anyway, obviously, this time around, both girls trying to play it differently. Amanda Nunes coming in completely reinvigorated, though. All 5 rounds, complete domination from Amanda Nunes. Yeah, Pena hit her with some nice shots, caught her with an armbar in round 4, but Nunes dropped Pena, I want to say, like, fucking 30,000 times. That's an exaggeration. I'm pretty sure they dropped, like, I'm pretty sure she dropped Pena a couple times, like, a good couple times. Looked like she was out, like she was going to go out. But unfortunately, Pena has a chin of granite. And honestly, oh my God, it was just, I'm still wrapping my head around it. It was an incredible showing by Amanda Nunes. Complete dominance. It was, like I said, complete reinvigorated Amanda Nunes. Reborn. Like, she was ready for battle. Juliana Pena had nothing for Amanda Nunes. Like, she tried, but had nothing for Amanda Nunes. That being said, that's it for the cards we've missed and the pay-per-view this weekend that just happened, because it was an incredible pay-per-view, honestly. May not have been, like, paper-wise with name value. Like, there was a couple of good names on here, but when it came to quality of fights, every single fucking fight delivered. It was awesome. Anyway, the next fight night that we're going to be covering is going to be Jamal Hill versus Thiago Santos. And that actually has the tough finale contestants happening. So we're going to have Muhammad Usman versus Zach Pauega, I believe his name is. And then Juliana Miller versus Brogan Walker for the Ultimate Fighter Flyweight and the Ultimate Fighter Heavyweight, respectively. So we're going to, get that. Obviously, we have Dana White's Contender Series to talk about next week. I'll talk about both the first 2 weeks next week when we do that. It's going to be awesome. I hope you guys enjoy the new format. I'm kind of digging it. I kind of want to keep doing it. So if you guys have any suggestions for any new topics, hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are always open. I'm always open to, suggestions, any feedback. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy your work week. I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, guys.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.